Hello everyone, thank you for joining. I am Jisary and I welcome you to my channel where I do all different kinds of creative content. As a lot of you might know by now, I am not only a game designer, but I spend a lot of time playing video games. And even though I have my favorite genres, I tend to try out everything that looks intriguing to me. For example, when I don't understand the hype around something, or when the whole world seems to love a game of a genre that isn't even mainstream at all. Last year around Christmas, my attention fell on a game called Ball X Pit. This is an indie game about hitting enemies with, well, balls. And with the rewards, you build then up a base and you have some light resource management. Roguelites, bullet hells, and 2 arcadey games are usually not the genres that I play. But something about this concept intrigued me, and the ratings were so positive that I said, frick, let's try it out. And what can I say? Over Christmas time, I 100%ed the achievements of this game. I put over 30 hours into it over a span of maybe a week? Needless to say that I liked it. A lot. But after I was through with it, there was a gap in my heart. A black gaming hole that none of the other games I played could fill. So I ventured out once more to find something similar. A game that intrigues me but would normally not be my type of game, with very high ratings. And I landed on Megabonk. Megabonk is a bullet hell game like Vampire Survivors, but in third person. I had seen it already when it came out, but I disliked the art style so much that I eventually ignored it. But with Ball X Pit being such a big success, I decided to give it a try nonetheless. And what can I say? You see this video, so spoilers, I like it a lot. And in today's video, I want to give you an insight why the game is so fun and addicting, what makes it so good, and what it could maybe do a little better. So, grab a hot beverage of your choice and follow me on my little divagation. In order to have something more to look at than only game footage, I will also draw a fan art in the background of one of the Megabonk characters called Noelle. I like her. First things first, what is Megabonk and how do you play it? And within this question already lies one of the puzzle pieces why this game is so successful. The game is really simple. The player moves around with WASD and uses E to interact with objects. And that's it. Shooting is done automatically, and besides walking around, the player just chooses from options that the interactable objects provide them. This means that the game is really easy to learn. Anyone can play it really. However, within the choices lies the mastery. There are many different items, tomes and weapons in the game to choose from. To a degree, the player can decide which ones to activate and deactivate for a run, but even when deactivating some, there is still many left to choose from. And there are many fun and more or less good combinations to find that make it easier, well, or harder, to follow the simple moment-to-moment gameplay. So, it follows the easy game design guidelines of easy to learn but hard to master. The goal is mostly to reach the end of a stage. Depending on the tier chosen, there can be one or multiple stages. And depending on the choices the player makes, the game spawns more or less enemies, both in quality and quantity. Kill them, earn experience points, make good choices, and ride always just barely in front of the difficulty curve. That is the challenge in a nutshell. But why is it so fun? How can be something that simple and repetitive be so fun to do? Besides the broad appeal through its gameplay simplicity, the game triggers feel-good hormones through its RNG. On the one hand, there is a mild aspect of gambling. With each object interaction, a new gamble is triggered, be it items, stats or tomes. Each new choice has RNG chosen options, and it is always the what will I get feeling, followed by endorphins if you drew something very good that fits your build. This gets further enhanced by the visual feedback you get. The UI is made fairly simple style-wise, and I would even argue the quality is a bit underwhelming. However, all the work went into the feedback. Each draw is a little party. Each level up is a small celebration in colors, sounds and effects. The game basically celebrates the player for engaging in their RNG minigame and succeeding in it. And while the happy hormones start floating the brain, the numbers tick up. More and more numbers proc from the enemies, then the crit starts appearing, making the numbers shown more colorful, bold and bigger. And then there are even mega crits, which you can probably guess are even more colorful and big. And the better your character gets, the more of these colors and effects appear. Not only the numbers, but also the hit effects from the weapons multiply, turning the screen in a big, chaotic party. These three aspects form a never-ending loop of happy hormones in the brain and put the player into the flow. Hours go by, and the player barely notices them. And this is why the game feels so good. It excels in getting the player into the flow and keeping them there with constant endorphins-inducing moments. And to round it up, there is so much meta progression that can be unlocked over time. It holds the player motivation to continue whenever a round is over. There's always the next challenge to do, the next character to unlock, or the next item to find, making the player always return after a pause. Obviously, the game isn't perfect. There are aspects that might be improved. For one, there can always be more content in these games, but this is probably just a matter of time. As I already mentioned, the UI quality isn't the best. Especially the main menu's appearance, click flows, and general style of the UI look very basic and clash a little with the super active gameplay within a round. And for me personally, I still don't like the art style at all, to be honest. For me it is more an I play the game despite of the art style situation. I am generally not the biggest fan of pixel art, but especially in a 3D environment, pixel art doesn't work for me. But this is more a matter of taste, and was likely also chosen because it is fairly easy to create, as the dev is consisting just of one guy, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but nevertheless it's a very small group or maybe even one person. So kudos to Verdinat for this, in my opinion, great and well-designed game. I would highly recommend it to anyone who's looking for a good time sink that is easy to pick up and simple fun. And that concludes my mini analysis of Megabonk and why it works so well. I hope you enjoyed my little divagation. If you did, consider leaving me a like or subscription so that you don't miss the next video. If you are interested in more of these types of videos, where I dive into games, analyze them and their general design and experience, let me know in the comments. And also add the game name if you have already something specific in mind. Thank you all so much for listening. It was a pleasure, as usual. Stay healthy and comfy until we meet again.